Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we are officially putting on the senior examiner's lens to totally master the types of business entity for your Cambridge AS and A-Level Accounting Paper 2 exam. We're going to talk about the distinct operational and structural differences between sole traders, partnerships, and limited companies. But more importantly, we'll deconstruct exactly how examiners build these questions, where most candidates drop completely easy points, and how you can strategically engineer your answers to hit those top-tier marking bands by deeply, fundamentally understanding these entities.
15%. I want you to really let that number sink in for a second. Believe it or not, mastering the intricacies of sole traders, partnerships, and limited companies accounts for approximately 15% of your total marks on this paper. That is a massive chunk of your final grade tied to this one single conceptual area. It's just not enough to know the math anymore. You absolutely need the strategic, high-level understanding of how these specific entities actually operate, how they distribute profits, and exactly how they manage liability.
So, to get you there, we've got a 4-step game plan today. 1. The 15% advantage. 2. Securing your method marks. 3. Mastering critical evaluation. And 4. Avoiding top examiner traps.
Let's dive straight into Section 1, the 15% advantage.
Now, here's a massive advantage that most candidates completely miss: making cross-topic connections. The Cambridge Principal Examiner reports explicitly state that candidates who successfully link these business entity concepts to other syllabus areas achieve the absolute highest scores. For example, if a question asks about a partnership converting to a limited company, top-tier students don't just sit there and calculate the new capital balances. No way. They connect that structural change to risk profiles, the shift to limited liability, and the newfound ability to raise future capital through issuing shares. They show the examiner that they understand the entire board, not just one piece of it.
Check out this brilliant quote straight from the source material. It shows that you simply cannot just memorize isolated facts. You must actively understand the causal relationships that underpin these business structures. If a sole trader admits a partner, what is the exact causal effect on decision-making and profit appropriation? You literally have to build a theoretical architecture in your mind, because the academic benchmarks prioritize analytical depth way over superficial breadth.
Which brings us nicely to Section 2, securing your method marks.
System and procedure. That is literally everything here. You must strictly follow a standardized 5-step procedural framework with crystal clear working to lock in those highly coveted process marks. Step 1, you identify the key elements from the stimulus material. Step 2, apply the relevant accounting principles. Step 3, execute your analysis, and please always show your working. Step 4, verify your results to make sure they're actually reasonable. And Step 5, present your answer in the appropriate format. Remember, examiners are looking to reward your process long before you even arrive at the final number.
You can really see the stark difference here between basic execution and true professional execution. Basic candidates, they merely extract the data and try to solve the math. But professional execution applies correct accounting formats, uses proper terminology like appropriation account or retained earnings perfectly, and actually evaluates performance. Presenting your findings with strict conventions, proper headings, and clear annotations, that is exactly how you signal to the examiner that you are a top-band candidate.
All right, moving into Section 3, Mastering Critical Evaluation.
This breakdown right here, this is the absolute DNA of the assessment objectives. It shows you exactly how to elevate your exam answer from a basic, boring descriptive summary to an analytical and evaluative powerhouse. Level 1, descriptive, is just identifying the given info. Level 2, analytical, is taking that info and breaking it into logical steps. But Level 3, evaluative, that's the higher order thinking, where you justify recommendations based on evaluating alternatives. Think about it like comparing the unlimited liability of a sole trader against the heavy regulatory burden of a limited company.
So, you're probably wondering, how do you actually unlock those highest evaluative marking bands? When you're analyzing a complex stimulus, like a heavy 15-mark question, you must systematically ask yourself how to evaluate alternatives and compare approaches to provide fully justified recommendations. Don't just generically say a limited company is better. Say a limited company provides a superior long-term capital structure through share issuance. However, a partnership might offer much more agile decision-making. Therefore, considering this specific entity's current growth profile, I recommend the limited company route. Boom! That is how you win.
Finally, let's hit Section 4, Avoiding Top Examiner Traps.
Pay close attention here, because these are the top 3 exam mistakes that just hemorrhage easy points. Number 1, forgetting to include the proper format. Number 2, forgetting to double-check that format in presentation. And number 3, which is absolutely devastating for sure,
providing generic textbook answers that are not specific to the given context. You have to ground every single evaluative point in the unique context provided by the stimulus material. If the prompt is about a struggling tech startup forming a partnership, your answer better reflect the harsh realities of a struggling tech startup, not some generic retail business. Then there's the terminology trap. The principal examiner reports point out a really consistent, really frustrating confusion of key terminology by candidates. For instance, mixing up capital and revenue expenditure, or confusing partner salaries with employees' wages. Examiners urgently warn that you must always explicitly define your key terminology before you even attempt to use it in your extended, high-tariff essays. If you misuse a core term when trying to distinguish between a sole trader's equity and a limited company's retained earnings, your entire subsequent argument gets penalized.
A great way to combat this terminology trap is with a quick memory hack. Try creating your own mnemonic device using the first letters of these key concepts. For example, if you want to remember the key features of a limited company, you could just use LCS for limited liability, continuity of existence, and separate legal entity. Having a strong memory hack like this in your back pocket will keep your foundational knowledge totally secure when that exam clock is ticking down and the pressure is on.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are your current study habits building a simple descriptive summary, or are they actively building an evaluative exam strategy? When you're practicing your past papers this week, really ask yourself if you are deconstructing the questions like an examiner would. Are you focusing on the process, the format, and the high-level evaluation of these business entities? Remember, a consistent strategy is absolutely the key to mastering this material. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll catch you in our next explainer.